Hey everybody. Well, just earlier today I was listening to episode 187 of the John L. Cooper Stuff podcast, and I don't know if you know John Cooper or Skillet or anything like that, but I was thinking about what he was talking about and just had a sort of connection point, a kind of realization, and kind of a question I'd love to ask him about his episode. He was talking about worldview stuff and talking about how all these different seemingly random events are connected by the what he calls the liberal media and that sort of thing. But no, I'm totally going to butcher what he was saying now. But essentially that there's this absolute rejection of America as being a wholesome and good thing, like we're rejecting America wholesale, and that viewpoint of oppression is creating the ethic that is currently justifying things like Hamas and stuff like that. Now, I don't want to comment a ton on all that, but for what I do, I'll tell you what, it just reminded me of how so often when I was working in ministry directly, I would be working with people and it would seem like their decisions were being steered by the things that they were watching on TV. And let me go a little bit further and say, with the advent of the internet, just the explosion of the connection to the digital and the distancing from reality, it's interesting to me how people's reactions seem to be becoming more and more and more digitized, almost more and more repetitive of that which they've seen as the proper plot point in their favorite sitcom, right? And what I mean is this: when we're populating options for how to deal with life, we have a list in our brain. We have the ones we've gone to more often and the ones we haven't gone to as much, and we kind of flip through those real quick and usually make pretty quick reactionary decisions. And most of those decisions are even made without our consent. And what I mean is they're made just in our subconscious. We're just doing them, right? So what's interesting to me about that is that it seems to me that with the influx of an entertainment universe where everything we seem to do seems to be wrapped around the idea of getting back to entertainment. Now I gotta admit, I'm speaking relatively small here now. I'm talking small like American culture. I'm talking, this would not be something I could claim worldwide, and frankly, only something that I can claim insofar as the little bit of study I've done and the whole lot of experience with the people that I've engaged with over the years. But this idea that we're populating these options now, not so much from the Bible or even our parents or even you name it. Instead, we're populating those ideas on how to deal with things, when to smile, not to smile, what to agree with, not to agree with. We're populating those automatic responses via entertainment. And so my question for John was going to be something like, okay, how much does people's obsession with the idea of conflict being the interesting thing, how much is that a motivating factor in this worldview? Like, get me on this. There's a lot of people that you might hear phrases like, they like to stir the pot. Right? So they like to, there's a conflict going on, they like to stir the pot. They like to keep that conflict going, rile it up, right? It's like very close to the sin of gossip and that sort of thing. And I'm wondering how much the love of conflict, which comes from seeing life like a movie, like a video game, like a form of entertainment, essentially disconnecting from reality and laying fantasy over our reality so that our response patterns are applying to this fantasy on top instead of to actual reality. How much of a role is that playing in people's inability to see the actual moral center of their worldview? Now, I don't know where to go from there. Here's what I do know, and I'll just say this to anybody watching from an addiction point of view. We do that constantly. We disconnect from reality and then play this on top of it game, this fantasy on top of our reality game. And there's lots of ways to conceptualize that, but I just want to say that I've talked through with many people about the idea of, all right, where are you populating your answers from? Right? Where are you getting those answers? And a lot of times we populated answers and then we generated our beliefs to support those answers after we applied the answer. And this is actually not that crazy a process. There's a lot of times we come into scenarios where we don't have any pre-programmed answers, particularly when we're very young. And so what we did is we just did the answer that came to mind. Maybe there was some sort of influence about it, but maybe it was just kind of like what happened. Because answers are not always necessarily propagated by us. We're not always the active agent. So these things happen to us, or we perform them, and then we start to collect data on it, and it solves the problem in a particular way. And then the belief that that is either useful or not useful follows having done the action. And so I want to encourage people who are struggling with addiction that they would start to back up a little bit to where they're getting this information from. You know, there's a very good book called The Lies We Believe. I believe the guy who wrote his name is Chris Thurman, and he says that, and he just backs up that whole idea of, good in, good out, bad in, bad out. And we need to ask ourselves what the overall confluence of our influence has been that is producing good or bad. Like, are we producing these reactions and these decisions from a movie we watched, or are we developing them out of our love of God, our love of the Bible, our love of truth? And so I just want to challenge you with that as someone that may be struggling with addiction. If you find yourself, going to these, I'll use dumb as the adjective here, but if we're going to these dumb decisions, right? These decisions that are leading us into acting out, into more addictive properties, what's feeding that? And do you have any other answers that are any good? Are you building frameworks for better answers so that you're not playing that fantasy game disconnected as though you're living a sitcom or some sort of entertainment reality? Are you building good answers that actually apply to reality, that actually get to the ground? And I think sometimes people don't like to put in the effort involved here, but I'll tell you what, man, it's good. It's good to know why you're doing what you're doing and to know that which you are doing is good inherently. So anyway, that's an encouragement for you, John. If you respond, I'd love that. And anybody else that wants more content like this, just like, subscribe, and comment, and do all those things. Until next time, you're loved. Bye.